these answers.
How about you stay away from my reporters and stay away from my newspaper?
Hakim could be Mabel's son, but that's yet to be verified.
But where do you get all these stories from?
I'm a journalist, but what I don't buy...
If you spend less time on the phone, you should probably move up to speed.
Oh gee, thanks for the advice.
I am your mother, not one of your cheap whores, and you need to show me some respect.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals sitting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
Watching Morning at NTV.
Well, it's often been said in that the Chinese word for problem is the same word for opportunity. As the day begins, are you just going to look at your problems as problems, or are you going to look at them as opportunities? Welcome to Morning at NTV this Tuesday. I do hope you had a wonderful night. It was raining lots here in Kampala. Wherever you are, would like to hear from you how your day has been, how your day was yesterday, and maybe your expectations this day. Continue looking for the opportunities everywhere. It's a beautiful day here, not so much rain. Well, it was drizzling a little bit as I left my home earlier this morning, but I'm glad you could join us whether on air or online. Once again, welcome to Morning at NTV. My name is Mebo Kebirunji. Brian will be coming in a bit later, as well as Dakaba Chigongo, not forgetting Simon Kasiate and Joel for the press review. Well, starting us off is our question of the day. That is our question of the day. Who is the current president of Somalia? Who is the current president of Somalia? The first 5 correct answers will receive a Morning at NTV cup, with which you can enjoy a warm cup of tea or coffee or hot chocolate, whatever your preference is, as you watch the best breakfast show in town. Well, we will continue the show with the headlines, and in today's headlines, President Museveni yesterday met the NRM youth leaders. President Salva Kiir reveals that he and rebel leader Machar were forced to sign the peace deal, and police parade a man said to be behind the Telex Free and Tesco scam.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
President Yoweri Museveni met the NRM youth leaders last night to resolve the standoff threatening to split the camp in the party. This after the NRM National Youth League chairman suspended 3 NRM youth leaders for indiscipline, causing intrigue within the party and undermining the party constitution. However, the suspended youth leaders claim the chairman has no mandate to call for such action.
In a press conference held at the NRM party offices in Chadondo this morning, the NRM National Youth League chairman announced the suspension of 3 NRM youth leaders for alleged indiscipline, undermining the party constitution and causing intrigue within the party. The suspended include Moses Chuanuka, the Eastern Youth Chairman, Ibrahim Chitata, the Lwengo District Chairman, and David Kabanda, the Sembabule Youth Chairman.
The NRM National Youth League executive sitting here at party headquarters, Plot 10 Chadondo Road today, has unanimously resolved as follows on this issue of discipline. A. To suspend the following youth leaders from the NRM youth leadership structures pending their final verdict by the party disciplinary committee.
The National Youth League also cancelled the National Youth Delegates Conference, scheduled to take place on the 15th of this month, deeming it illegal. They further blamed the NRM youth MPs for stirring the fracas.
The NRM Youth League categorically disassociates itself from any purported NRM youth meetings of whatever description.
The youth members of parliament have been working with the president to illegally organize the NRM Youth National Delegates Conference in Nambole to endorse President Museveni as the sole candidate of the party. For us as NRM Youth League, we say this is against the constitution of NRM. This is an abrogation of our constitution of NRM.
The suspended NRM youth leaders chastised their chairman, claiming that he has no mandate to suspend them.
He knows very well that doesn't have that power, and even the meeting which he purportedly says that sat and dismissed us has never sat, and it has no locus to even talk about my dismissal as a member of the NRM.
I think Mbabas is just using him to intimidate us, but no one can intimidate us. We still belong to NRM, and we still support President Museveni as our chairman.
They further state that the delegates conference on the 15th of this month will not be called off.
I think he's fearing to be dismissed, but I have to assure him by 15th he ceases being the chairman, National Youth.
By the way, we have informed the IGP to also stop all these meetings. So we want to see his actions on this matter.
The meeting will take place on 15th at Nambole. We have already got clearance from the Inspector General of Police. The membership of the delegates conference has already been put together. The young people are actually on their way.
I think Namara and the group, they are just dreaming.
By the time we came on air, NTV learned that the president was meeting with the NRM youth leaders to resolve the impasse. Suhail Mugabi, NTV.
South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has revealed yesterday that he and rebel leader Riek Machar were forced to sign the peace deal under duress by the Ethiopian Prime Minister Desalegn. President Kiir's stunning revelation comes as both the government and rebel forces are accusing each other of violating the truce that was to start yesterday. This prompted for calls from international monitors. And as Moses Akena reports, the president also offered amnesty to the rebels once an agreement is reached.
The language of both men spoke volumes. There was no ceremonial handshake after exchanging the signed agreements, and the grim look on their faces only compounded the fragile state of affairs that also played out during their maiden speeches. Sharp rhetoric from President Salva Kiir in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa said it all.
I'm the president of South Sudan, and I must always remain in that position as the president, the leader of that country.
And now President Salva Kiir has revealed what is perhaps the undertone for this insipid behavior on Friday night. President Kiir told his supporters shortly after arriving from Addis Ababa yesterday evening that this matter has involved threats. Prime Minister El-Mariam Desalegn told Riek Machar, "You are not going if you don't sign this." He told me the same in the morning. He told me that if you don't sign this, I will arrest you here. Riek Machar, however, denies the allegations. Part of the deal agreed on was to suspend fighting by yesterday, but both sides are now accusing each other of violating the agreement. Rebel leader Riek Machar told the BBC that government forces have attacked their positions on multiple fronts. He is also blaming President Kiir, who he says is illegitimate, for failing to rein on the Uganda People's Defense Forces, as well as 4 rebel groups operating in the country. President Salva Kiir has however said that he has ordered its commanders to honor the ceasefire. Kiir said he has suspended elections scheduled for next year for 2 to 3 years to allow reconciliation. He blames the rebels for attacking government positions in Unity State. The president also said if they reach an agreement, the rebels will be pardoned before an interim government is formed. South Sudan's Information Minister Michael Makuei is accusing the rebels of being dishonest. He has called for international monitors to verify the claim. It is a call that was backed by the South Sudan ambassador to Uganda, Samuel Luate, and former Director General of the External Security Organization, David Paul Cole.
You know, we can't live any longer with lies. We cannot. As a government, IGAD must send in the protection and the deterrent forces to come and see whether really it is the government that is violating this or it is Dr. Riek Machar.
Luate maintains President Kia is committed to resolving the impasse. Paul Cole, however, accuses both sides of nursing selfish interests.
So they want, by the time the war settles, that at least the oil production, they must be in charge of Bentui. Secondly, they are trying to stop Machar's forces, particularly the white armies, the general public, from taking the war into Warab State and into Lakes, because that's where Kir comes from. On the other hand of Machar, before the UN forces come in, the white army and the Nuers around Machar are saying the balance sheet does not balance.
A similar truce signed in January was barely honored. The UN is now calling on both sides to allow humanitarian aid to reach at least 5 million people in need.
This sad state of affairs is certainly not what people in South Sudan expected just a few years after attaining independence from the North. And it could get worse if isolation and sanctions from the international community come in. Moses Sakena, NTV.
Police yesterday paraded a man said to be behind the network marketing scam in which Ugandans have lost billions of shillings. Ronald Muramuzi allegedly masterminded the recruitment of people into AdFast, Telexfree and Tesco, which all closed prematurely last week. Police spokesperson Patrick Onyango says only 250 cases have been registered. However, it is feared a lot more could have been victims of this fraud. Sheila Nduhuchide with this report.
In what might come as a leap of joy to many Ugandans that have lost money to network marketing in the recent past, police has paraded a man suspected to be the brains behind Tesco, Telexfree and AdFast international online businesses.
Latest figure that was by yesterday evening, 250 victims have come to register case.
The allegations that I'm frauding, I'm doing what, it's not true.
According to police spokesperson Patrick Onyango, Ronald Muramuzi, who is not new to controversy, started out with a smaller company called Wide Movers, promising Ugandans jobs abroad.
It was also established that over 300 youths were recruited and trained at Namirembe Guest House on 10th of October 2013, that each student paid 1.5 million to be recruited and trained.
Police says that it was at this point that Muramuzi came to know that he was being traced by police and started changing names. Muramuzi later opened other websites.
That is AdFast website, which was opened around late 2013 with the knowledge that Wild Movers was closing on 7th February 2014.
With the current trends in the country, we asked Nganda Filmon, a management consultant, whether network marketing is indeed a gamble.
It's not a gamble. A gamble is different. So when you put the money, you know there is a disclaimer. So someone who turns around and says, these guys are fake, they never read the terms and conditions.
Onyango says a holding charge of obtaining money under false pretense has been placed against Muramuzi as investigations into the matter continue. To benefit from AdFast, for instance, one had to deposit money in dollars on an online bank account, and after a week, you get profit in dollars according to the package you subscribed for. Silver package, one deposited $300 and earned $31 per week for each share. Gold package, one deposited $1,400 and earned $168 per week. And the diamond package, one deposited $25,100 and earned $3,600 per week. What started as a click on websites promising Ugandans lots of profits ended in losses. Now the only visible trace of this scam are broken hearts and people that will probably never come out to talk about the experience.
The Ministry of Health has announced plans of renovating Bujiri Hospital, which has been lying in ruins in the eastern Ugandan district. The hospital that receives many patients daily has no running water and is inhabited by birds due to its rundown condition. Florence Nalimba reports.
As Ugandan health experts strive to improve the hygiene at hospitals across the country, it appears Bujiri Hospital was off their radar. Patients and health workers at this facility are afraid of contracting diseases because of the deplorable state it's in. The patients have to bear the humiliating routine of answering nature's call in a basin. Each of them carries one to the hospital as a requirement.
Batuyambe, ndwala is just a stressful factor. Kubalwadde abasawo ne community. Otherwise, it is too bad.
The birds that have nestled in the corner of this facility paint a clear picture of the condition it's in. Really, it's a disgusting hospital.
Renovations have been going on in other facilities, which also were in a sorry state. And now Bujiri is the one is now on ground, and we are giving it priority.
The theatre itself is next to non-existent. It is full of medical waste that hasn't been properly disposed of. The hospital gets about 300 outpatient department cases, with the admission of about 150 in a facility that only has a 100-bed capacity.
The staff is there, but the conditions, the working conditions, the residences, the hospital itself is really in a terrible situation.
We have mobilized funds, about $90 million from the World Bank, and in this we are going to renovate the wards at the hospital. We are going to build a new T-junction that is going to house a theatre and also a mortuary. In this renovation still at Bujiri, we are going to construct a new outpatient department and also renovate the existing outpatient department.
A little assurance there from the Minister of Health. For most hospitals in the country, including Bujiri Hospital, which is so sick. Unfortunately for Bujiri Hospital, it will have to wait another 2 years for the renovations to start. Now, this is a hospital which needed renovation like yesterday. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen, so the patients have to bear with what they're going through at the moment, as well as the health workers. Florence Nalimba, NTV.
Thank you, Florence, for that report. And that brings our morning bulletin to an end. We now head over to the Serena rooftop for the press review with Simon, Joel and Brian. Simon, good morning. And what do we have on the front page, on the picture of the day? What's the picture of the day in today's monitor?
Thank you very much, Mabel. Indeed, a very good morning. Slightly drizzly up here at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, but flipping through the Daily Monitor and looking at the picture of the day, we see an interesting phenomenon where every maize seed does count. We see street children, possibly from the Karamoja region, seen here gathering every maize grain that had been dropped off by a moving truck. And these maize grains were dropped in a very filthy environment, but that did not deter their determination. Although I can already say that this picture can play out if a truck carrying biscuits collided with one carrying soda in the upscale environment of Bugolobi, for example, you would still see children from the upscale, going down to pick all these biscuits, even if they fell down a gutter train. But anyway, that's what we'll be looking at for the press review this morning. Good morning. Well, a very good morning to you all on this slightly overcast Tuesday morning, the 13th day of May, 2014. Brian, you don't believe this is an overcast morning? Come on, take a look up. The sun is not shining as bright as it does always on mornings around this time. And good morning, Joel.
Good morning.
Well, we have with us copies of the Daily Monitor and the usual red paper that is Mulondo's favorite. And I think in the interest of giving us what is the latest in our news, let's look at what's in the headline of the red paper this morning. Brian.
Well, the headline of the red paper is focusing on General Sali and is telling us why he quit Museveni's job.
Which job was this? I mean, this guy has been quitting and unquitting, and so sometimes I wonder, so what is he left with?
Well, it was because of age and fatigue. He's tired, so I think he's going to retire.
Just
last week he was appointed.
The brother of the president?
Yes. So
elder, younger.
He's younger.
The younger brother,
So
and he's aged and fatigued.
that's what I asked Joel last week. How can the younger brother be tired I also don't know.
No, but well, I think we also must understand that we have different levels of endurance. I mean, I am much older than the two of you combined, but somehow I arrived here earlier than all you guys. So
really?
So,
Brian, let's strike a deal, eh? We should start this show. We should not wait for this guy anymore. We have bailed him out.
Well, looking at the Daily Monitor this morning, we're waking up to a front page picture of those girls that were captured by the Boko Haram in Nigeria, and for the first time yesterday, a video of them was released to the world. And if you've had the chance to listen to this video, they were reciting the first verse of the Quran, and the leader of the Boko Haram said all the 200 and over girls have since converted to Islam. They are pictured here in the Daily Monitor wearing full-scale hijabs from head to toe. This is a story that the world is following very closely, with a hashtag Bring Back Our Girls trending like a wildfire on social media.
I hope it will go beyond social media, bring back our girls and that kind of thing. The US and all these other countries are saying something should be done. And
Global Corp is moving around with helicopters hovering over Nigeria and looking for a needle in a haystack. Let's wait for him to come and give us. Of course, I'm talking about Global Corp. Uncle Sam himself, who believes that every little skirmish anywhere in the world, he's the one who's morally charged to.
But you always cry out to him whenever you have issues.
At least you know, not me.
The question that is always being raised, they said this video has only 100 girls, but there were about 276 girls. Those are the ones that are still lost.
Yes.
Actually, it was in 3 stages that the numbers kept on being revealed. The first time they talked about 120 girls, that was the police. And they said, look, there's many more parents who are saying their children are not in place. Then they released another number, and then this recently, I think about a week or so, that they said, look, there's still many more missing girls.
Well, I don't intend to really crack a joke on such an unfortunate incident, but I'm just looking at the scenario of this missing Malaysian Airways plane, and we've seen a story trending around of a man who left home ostensibly to jump on the same plane and go for business where the plane was landing, only for him to be hauled up at his girlfriend's apartment, and now his family thinks he's missing, and so he's waiting in that apartment.
How do you go back home, actually? No, you first go to the ocean and then swim. And then you come out,
you
injure yourself. Oh, really?
Well, I mean, you may need to be given you may need to be asked a few questions on the eyewitness account and what happened, and you may
amnesia, you lose the. I can't remember.
Well,
translator.
I will never underestimate Brian's ability to be creative, but there we have it. And talk about creativity. Members of Parliament are ever again in high drive, looking for more ways of bringing more revenue on the table. I mean, these are guys who, for the most part, do amaze me. On one side, you are proposing draconian measures to stifle the amount of money government is getting from top taxpayers. What am I talking about? You are dismantle ESCOM, ban umeme, stop
it's a huge tax collector. It's not a taxpayer.
Well, no, come on. Let's not even get there. Then ban smoking. You know how much tobacco does bring to this company, and then when the crunch time comes, BAT is now phasing out operations in Uganda.
Saying ban tobacco. I have not met a law. No one says they should ban tobacco. Ban tobacco. They talk about regulating it. And even BAT says it should be regulated.
So well, maybe if you look at the tobacco control bill, you will actually realize that it's a draconian measure, of course, put in place by anti-tobacco lobbyists in order to get some money from elsewhere. But anyway, let's look at what the MPs are suggesting as an avenue for purging the gap that has been created by all these other senseless discussions that they have been having. Now, one member of Parliament, the Honorable Geoffrey Ekanya, is at it again, saying that we should pay a tax of 5,000 Uganda shillings for every mobile handset that we own. That
how many do you have?
Well, here is one. Let's check. So 10,000 shillings for me.
Is that a year?
A year. 5,000 Uganda shillings. Well, even if you put it at 100,000 shillings per year, I'm still able to afford that. But how about hundreds of thousands of many other Ugandans who use their mobile phones as lifelines, and they are unable to earn 5,000 Uganda shillings from it? Because many people have mobile phones which they are not using to earn any money, but they use them as a lifeline, to receive mobile remittances from richer relatives like you, Joe. When you have to send mobile money to your relatives.
Exactly. But look, anyway, I think we are squeezing the taxpayer a great deal. We need a lot more money, without a doubt. But I keep saying that, look, we have got enough money. Our challenge is frugality. We are not frugal. We just spend money in such a wanton manner, not so useless ventures.
If you look at the money that has been expected,
the money that we have.
Joel, we make a very important argument here, but I wanted us to narrow this discussion to the ingenuity of our members of parliament, their ability to think of very ingenious ways of creating money. Would you regard this suggestion by the Honorable Geoffrey Akanya and his entire committee that backed it up, except for one member, as one of those ingenious Albert Einstein moments in our parliament?
I'm not too sure it is. I'm not too sure it is, because ultimately you want to raise taxes so that you can deliver services to poor Ugandans. You know, now you're taking away the little from them.
Joel,
it's not right.
The money is going to be about 87 billion shillings annually.
Yeah, 87
is that
billion
little money?
Annually. Do you know how much money we lose to corruption in this country on an annual basis? Known figures. In 2010, we recorded it as 500 billion shillings. Right about now, it's 900 billion shillings
Forget
plus.
even about
And those are
losing the money
known
for corruption,
figures.
Joel. We are talking about money that goes into the cost of public expenditure, feeding these MPs with samosas every single day they sit down, buying for them iPads and all that. These senseless allowances they have. So here they are, ostensibly saying we are looking for ingenious ways of the country getting money, only for them to turn around and start claiming they want a gym in parliament, a saloon in parliament, a 25 billion Uganda shillings parking space in parliament. I mean, then they want 100 billion shillings for the security business. What nonsense is this? Tell me.
So there you are. It gets back to the point of can we put our money where our mouth is?
But the excuse is if you want to progress in ICT, you must pay for it. There's a cost.
There's a cost. Yeah, but you see, ultimately we are saying we have got money in this country. We're just misusing it, and they keep getting back to the taxpayers, squeezing every little out of them. It's just not right. And look, even the money we are taking away from the taxpayer, we are not delivering as much services as we should be delivering. It is not right.
Well, we always said to you that we do come to you, come rain, come shine, and indeed this morning is just a different twist of the story. But we continue with the press review for just a couple of minutes.
And we are very patriotic.
70 youth.
Even with the rain, we'll still
it is increasing.
Yeah, so. It is increasing.
Yeah. For me to people what's in the news here, the NRM has suspended for youth, Promo 7 youth. And now this is a very interesting development.
Quite a surprise.
For attempting to call a delegates conference.
Yes, one they want to hold so that they can also, like the MPs are going around the country endorsing His Excellency the President as the sole candidate. This is what the youth are attempting to do.
Well, talking about the attempt of the youth, now I think we need to link up with Mabel, who is in a sheltered place, to tell us what's happening on the international scene, what's happening in the former Ukrainian area of Donetsk and other high-sounding nice places there. Mabel.
Well, thank you very much, Simon. In Donetsk, actually, we have pro-Russian leaders, pro-Moscow rebel leaders in eastern Ukraine calling on Monday for their part of town to be part of Russia. This came after the referendum of self-rule, although Moscow stopped short of endorsing their bid for annexation. We also have, I just love this story, and I know I talk about it almost every day. It just doesn't seem to go away. We have Donald Sterling insisting he's no racist, but get this, Donald Sterling is actually saying Magic Johnson is the one with the problem. He says Magic Johnson has done nothing for the Black American community, and instead Donald Sterling, as a Jew, has done more, because as Jews they help the whites, they help the blacks. But he says when black people get money, they turn their backs on fellow blacks. And one of the reasons he says he was very quiet is because Magic Johnson told him to keep quiet, because people are raising questions. Why did Donald Sterling take so long to come out with an apology? He says it's because Magic Johnson told him to keep quiet. Interesting, if you ask me. And he goes on to say Magic Johnson should be ashamed of himself. A very interesting story that just really won't go away. And on the BBC Africa page, we have U.S. planes searching for Nigerian girls. The U.S. reveals it is flying manned surveillance missions over Nigeria to try to find more than 200 schoolgirls kidnapped by the militant group Boko Haram. And in South Africa, the judge in the trial of South African athlete Oscar Pistorius is due to rule on a prosecution bid for him to undergo medical observation for 30 days. An interesting story there. And South Sudan postpones presidential elections due next year to give government and rebel forces more time to achieve reconciliation. This is according to the president. And in Sky News, still here, we have the EU hitting Russia with the new sanctions over Ukraine. I think they are just tired of what is Russia's stand and Russia's place in all this. Officials in New Hampshire say it is unclear if a police officer was shot or injured after the house he was in exploded. A policeman had gone into a house and exploded, and people are wondering, you know, what exactly happened. Was there a bomb inside the house or something? And also an interesting story here. I think most of us remember Paul Walker, the actor of the Fast and Furious series. Well, the wife, the driver's wife, has sued Porsche for the accident. A picture here of the late Paul Walker and a picture of the crash scene there. And Christine Roders claims the company Porsche suffered from design flaws and had faulty suspension, and I think some of the cars had actually been removed or recalled, and unfortunately her husband died together with Paul Walker. They died on impact. And in the UK, the stories making headlines here. We have Peaches Geldof house being raided twice by thieves ever since her death. She died last April, and her house has been raided. Public expects to see election TV debates. I really long for the day that this is something that probably could happen in Uganda. But in the UK, this is something that happens often. The House of Lords Committee has urged politicians and broadcasters to ensure that television election debates happen in 2015 as they did 5 years ago. This is in preparation for the elections. And here we have a picture of Gordon Brown, Nick Clegg, and David Cameron as they were preparing for the 2010 elections. And that's all we had for you in today's press review. We shall be taking a short break.
Mr. Krabs, are you ready to party?
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it.
Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastics.
Mr. Krabs, isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How did he do that?
The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought.
It's time to finish this thing up!
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Mega Rangers? Yeah. That's a mega win!
Hello? King Julian, you are truly inspiring. Ow!
SpongeBob! Fantastic!
oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa abekika
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagende mu lukoola eyo nakasongola mu buluuri twagende mu butale lwabalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti muyise bosi basajja
omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo
tobeera mu ssuuti ate ng'oteekamu gganduula
olina kubeerako kimu
kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina
nakulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
She was molested when she was 6 by someone she trusted.
The doctors finally walked into the door. They basically were telling me that she had a 5% chance of living.
I couldn't understand how somebody that tells you they loved you, that held you as a child, could abuse you.
Tommy Scott grew up among gang violence, drugs, and poverty in the projects of South Central Los Angeles.
I felt not normal, not good. I wasn't lovable.
As a teen, Melissa discovered that drinking gave some relief.
Tommy is free today and continues to tell people that it was Jesus who changed his life.
The time I spent in prison, I spent putting my ideas together on, how I was going to come back and make it all right.
And I realized my purpose, that I was created to reflect the glory of God.
Duke now realizes why God kept him alive.
These were real people facing desperate situations, just like you and me.
Jesus died to set you free, and he can give you a new heart.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
You're still watching Morning at NTV this Tuesday morning. The rains have come in, and that's why we had to cut the press review a bit short. But Simon is back with the big story. Simon, whom do we have today, and what are you discussing?
Well, Uganda has got a plethora of anti-corruption agencies, right from a committee of parliament charged with curbing corruption to an inspectorate of government, to the Directorate of Public Prosecution, to an anti-corruption court, to a special division of the Criminal Investigative Department of the police to handle corruption. Every little government agency has got an anti-corruption thing. And of course, the big government mantra has been zero tolerance to corruption. And yet, for the most part, we see corruption finding fertile ground in Uganda, flourishing, if at all, no, not say even if at all, but to say even flourishing for that matter, and thriving. Question is, what are we not doing to curb this vice called corruption? Is it about lip service? And that is precisely what we'll be discussing on the big story this morning. May 2014, and coming to you from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. My name is Simon Kasiate with a big story this morning. I did indeed inform you, those of you who've been with us throughout this show, that corruption continues to bedevil this country to such an extent that, according to some figures thrown around by some organizations, the corruption industry in Uganda has bled this country to the tune of over 500 billion per annum in the years that have gone by. Now, the question is, why do we continue to see this vice thriving and even flourishing as we look on? Yet government, on the other hand, has got huge measures to curb corruption. We've got a very active civil society movement. We've got a very active anti-corruption setup in many government departments. Yet we also see that corruption continues to gain ground and grow. Of course, corruption is an issue that we've discussed and talked about for many shows. There's been 100 shows such as this one on very many TV stations in this country over just the last 1 year that have talked about corruption. So many of you may have information fatigue at this particular time, but of course, like they always argue, when you keep harping on a vice over and over again, you may make it more and more unpalatable. And so this morning we're joined by the Chief Executive at Integrity Action, Frederick Galton. I hope I pronounced your name pretty well.
Beautifully.
Tremendous. And this is a civil society movement or organization, for that matter, that is out to look at ingenious ways of curbing corruption. And so we are picking up from the brain of Frederick, who may not have as much experience on the Ugandan story, but has got a huge international experience and best practices share with us this morning. Where you see it, Frederick, how would you rate Uganda's corruption levels? Let's put it on the scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is Finland and 10 is what? Is it Nigeria? Somewhere in there.
Well, the ratings we know, right, from the Corruption Perceptions Index and other sources, the feedback isn't all that good. And if the Ugandan public has been as concerned as you say, if the media is as concerned as you say, obviously it's a big issue. And in a sense, it doesn't help you to know whether are we a little bit better than Nigeria or worse than Nigeria. Who cares? What you care about is really what's happening here. Right? And in a way, what's been happening is that some people have a hopeless attitude towards corruption. We can never do anything really about it, right? It's too omnipresent. The values have gone roughshod.
It is so entrenched that every little person is involved in corruption. And you know what the devil is? Everybody seems to castigate it. They castigate corruption with one hand, and on the other hand, they are perpetuating it to levels unprecedented.
Yeah. And on the other hand, there's an overly simplistic view, is that the solution to corruption is
like a magic bullet.
Democracy, is a new leader, is let's educate the young, is an anti-corruption agency, is civil society. There's no magic bullet. There's no single solution. So if I take a step back and look at the countries that have curbed corruption successfully, there are about 35 countries that you could firmly put in that category.
On a globe that has hundreds of countries.
That has over 200. That's right. So you have that subsection. Now what do we learn from them? We actually learn that they fall into one of two categories.
Namely?
They either are really small, and then they were able to make that change happen fairly fast.
So small in terms of geographical size and population.
Just population.
So we talk about a Rwanda of some sort.
Exactly.
We're talking about Thailand.
Not Thailand.
We're talking about Singapore.
Singapore,
we're talking
Hong Kong,
about,
Estonia, Georgia, exactly, Botswana. Or they took 3 generations and more. The US, Germany, France, the UK. They took a long
time. Say that the US has really gotten rid of corruption.
Absolutely not.
Corruption has become more sophisticated. And
corruption never disappears 100%. But, so that doesn't exist. A corruption-free society, even Singapore, convicts 200 people a year for mid-size and large corruption. A country that has almost no corruption convicts 200 people a year.
Finland.
Finland convicts people as well. So you never get rid of corruption completely, but the question is, can you bring it down to such a level that it no longer harms society, right? So the question comes back, Uganda is not small.
Certainly not.
So then the question is,
heterogeneous.
That's right. Yeah. So does Uganda have the patience to wait 100 years, 120 years?
Well, we've only done now 51 of independence, so
of sustained reforms, not just waiting that long, but of sustained reforms.
We haven't started on anything.
Okay. So if the answer is no, you don't have that patience. Actually, you really want to move things along.
Or you have governments that should be in power for 5 years promising zero tolerance corruption, and you ask yourself, are you able to present zero tolerance corruption in 5 years? And then you're talking about 3 generations, and we're talking about hundreds of years. Certainly we don't have the patience.
You don't have the patience. And you're not small.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. So then that means Uganda has to forge its own path. It can't borrow simply the lessons of the US, of the UK, because they took a long time. And it can't borrow the lessons from the small countries because they're small.
So just to put it right up there, the US and like-minded Western civilizations, together with the organizations like the Bretton Woods Organization, did impose onto Uganda and other countries of its nature certain structured adjustment policies which were geared at not only making governance a lot better, but also curbing the vice of corruption. And Uganda swallowed these things root, stock, and shoot.
Yeah.
Can we say, looking back with hindsight, that this was a very fundamental flaw on the part of Uganda?
There were many flaws. There were many flaws because actually if we look comparatively both at the lessons and experience in Uganda, but other countries that swallowed the same medicine, actually the results are not very good. They haven't delivered. And so we have to reassess what's going on. So what we did with Integrity Action is to look at how can regular people make a difference. We know that inspired, committed leaders can sometimes make a big difference, but sometimes that change doesn't last. So what we wanted to see, can regular people make a difference? And actually we can show that yes, it's possible.
How possible and what difference can they make?
Okay, so what you need to combine is the following, and is people need to work on approaches that we say close the loop. They can't simply complain. They can't try to simply name and shame. Naming and shaming might win you 1 or 2 battles.
Absolutely, but cannot win the entire war.
It cannot do that, right? Because then the system fights back. So you need to find a way that's collaborative. Now, it sounds very tricky. How do you collaborate with sometimes a public administration that's corrupt? Well, you find the allies. You find the people who are willing to make the change, and you can always find them.
But Frederick, maybe I may need just bring you up to speed with the social fabric of Uganda, just tell you how the ordinary Ugandan does perceive somebody that's corrupt. I mean, if you have a kin that's in a high-placed government body, and they are unable to leverage certain resources at their disposal to live a good life, and also pick some of that and pass it on down to you, because here the social nets are such that a well-to-do relative does fend for less fortunate relatives. Or if you find that you've got a relative in a high-placed office that's extremely principled, many folks will just lambast them and say, look at him, he's in a government position where he's able to siphon so much money and he's doing nothing for us, he's doing nothing for others. On the other hand, when you have this corrupt guy who comes around and doles out a few handouts left, right and center, he's revered back home. So how would you expect such a society, therefore, to castigate or even look down upon corrupt people, when, on the other hand, they seem to glorify them?
Okay, so you put your finger actually on one of the unspeakables, in a way, which is that corruption actually fulfills many functions. It works, quote unquote, to fulfill various things. So, for example, as you say, it's a form of redistribution for some people. There's an expectation that I will benefit, and that expectation is fulfilled to some degree. What other functions does it fulfill? It fulfills, of course, it's a means to riches. It's a means to retain power. It's a means for judicial impunity. Right? It's a means, but also, and this makes it more complicated, sometimes it's a means for the poor to access the basic services that they should be getting.
As a right, as opposed to getting them.
They should be getting it as a right, as an entitlement, but it's the only way to get healthcare, to get their child into school, for example.
Way to get yourself off the noose of a corrupt justice system.
Okay, so now I'm not beautifying corruption at all, but I'm saying corruption fulfills these various functions. The question is, does integrity or does anti-corruption replace that with anything else? If it doesn't replace that with anything else, you actually haven't provided an alternative. And as long as you're not providing an alternative, the anti-corruption fight is bound to fail, because the alternative, which is corruption right now, provides that avenue.
Absolutely, and one of the drivers of corruption, it's been argued, is the low levels of remuneration of public servants, for that matter.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the salary of a highly placed public servant in Uganda, for example, a permanent secretary, I, in the public sector, or even for just the 1 hour I am on TV every morning, at the end of the month, if I has to mention, possibly earn more than a permanent secretary in terms of, in terms of salary. But at the end of the day, this high-flying government official lives a life where his salary is what he possibly spends on a simple outing at the Serena Hotel.
Right.
Where does he get the excess? And how can we ensure that these people are properly remunerated and governed very well within their little setting to ensure that they do not now dip their fingers into the cookie jar?
Yeah. So of course there is, there's a certain balance that has to be drawn here. You can't go over the top, but at the same time you have to recognize, indeed, that what has been working right now is a system wherein people are not paid enough. The state knows they're not paid enough. The state knows that they have other sources of revenue.
But just turn a blind eye.
Turns a blind eye. So it justifies actually not paying them enough, because they know that they're making up the difference from other sources. Right? So that becomes
a dangerous trend where you see it as Integrity International. I mean, countries that have gone that path, don't we see them on a roller coaster ride down the abyss of corruption without any hope of a reverse gear?
I remain optimistic about it, right? Partly because of a popular expectation, right? Enough is enough. Because what I describe as functions, in a certain sense, benefits only certain people. Lots of other people are not part of it, are not able to benefit in any sense. They might say, yeah, we'll wait for our turn to eat. But when does that turn come? And that's not a solution in any case, right? So alternatives have to be found. But don't look for simplistic solutions. Just getting rid of the person at the top, for example, we saw that in Egypt. Does that change the system? No, it's not. It has to go far deeper than that, which is why it's important to involve people at the base. And it's important for many more people to be part of the solution. Leadership isn't simply found at the top. Leadership is found in every person, in a sense, at least in a critical mass of people.
Let me bring the debate now to you in civil society, especially you who come with the experience of international globe-trotting. You've been all over the place and you've picked up best practices and all that, and you've come to Uganda to try to put across your difference. And I'll start with the integrity action. What are the exact tangible actions that integrity action is perpetuating in this country that I can feel, touch, smell, or even see?
So in our case, what it is about is that people actually working on really resolving specific problems that affect them. It's working on the integrity problems related, for example, to a road project, to water sanitation, to health services, to educational services.
But Frederick, how
very
do you do
concrete.
this?
So what they do is this combination of finding allies on the inside, of finding the hard evidence base. They have to be journalists. Well, actually, but it's tricky. But we have to help them getting the contracts, getting the entitlements, getting the different bits of evidence. It's not enough to work on the basis of opinions, of feeling frustrated. They have to go for the hard evidence. And then, to close the loop, they have to do two things. One is they have to be totally focused on simply resolving that problem. Not putting the guy in jail, but resolving the problem. Fix my road. Right? And then moving on to make sure that that loop is actually closed.
I don't want to sound a doomsday pessimist, but I'm only asking, just to have a feel of the amount of success you've had in this kind of approach in a country where there's a widespread impunity and this attitude by people in such positions saying, what can you do to me? So how long have you been going
so it's actually the perfect question you're asking, Simon, because we actually measure our success rate, and we call it the fixed rate. And we say that our fixed rate for infrastructure is now 80%.
80%?
Yeah. And
are you working in places close to where I live? Well, because there's nothing like infrastructure to talk about except
And our fixed rate for services is 30%. Services are more tricky. Achieving progress on this. So this is an approach. It sounds counterintuitive because it means working with administrations that sometimes are corrupt. It means finding evidence of wrongdoing and then focused for
the means you put yourself in a position where you can easily be compromised because the carrot that dangles right in front of you is one that sometimes is very irresistible.
Right. But this combination of factors, is working on things that really matter to people and involving local people in that change. So that is a way. Now look at what is the success rate, the fixed rate of an anti-corruption agency, not just picking on Uganda, but in East Africa. What is their conviction rate? It's minimal. They're not succeeding to convict but a tiny fraction of the people they investigate, right? So what we're trying to do is to change the game. It isn't the old game of convicting, of compliance, of going after the bad guys. It's really reversing that order, involving people, but in the solutions.
Are we talking about people power here, a huge surge of people storming Uganda National Roads Authority, for example?
Not at all.
That example and say, look, it seems like you contract with the highway is a bit dodgy and want to know exactly what's going on.
I know that would make for good TV. It would make for great media coverage.
Absolutely.
But it wouldn't be sustainable. You wouldn't be able to do that on a repeat basis. It's not constructive.
So how are you performing? Are you acting from a subterranean point where you're working covertly to push this change? And how can we know that you actually work?
Exactly. Initially it's done quietly in order to really gain confidence of people because it is a bit counterintuitive. And we also have to gain the confidence of public authorities in doing this. But it's done really bottom up to start with. Now we think governments can actually be real allies in that process. And it's starting to happen in some countries. Not happening here yet, but we hope it'll happen.
I bet it won't.
Well, okay.
Let's I'm sorry for being a very big pessimist, but you see, like one African writer did famously write that the more the birds learn how to fly without patching, the more the hunter learns how to shoot without missing, the more the birds learn how to fly without patching. So in other words, the more ingenious you as anti-corruption agencies or civil society movements try to package your message and package your fight, the more ingenious these corrupt people get. They know how to. They're extremely slimy,
100% right. This is an evolving game, right? We continuously have to recognize that they're going to try to be 2 steps ahead. And one of the great faults, if I can use a simplistic metaphor, is if you compare this fight against corruption, is golf or chess a better metaphor?
Well, let's go for golf.
Exactly. So actually most governance reforms, most of the Bretton Woods projects, most of the EU projects, they're right around the corner, etc., take the metaphor of golf. If we just had a better swing, if we just had better equipment, if we just had better training, then surely we would
get a bogey.
That's right. But you said the problem actually evolves, right? The grass talks back, the hole keeps moving.
Exactly.
Right? So actually the better metaphor is chess. You have to think 3 steps ahead, right? And the problem with so many reforms is that they use the golf metaphor implicitly, right? They're always thinking, if I just had a better club, then I would do. But that's not how it really works.
If my caddy was on time.
Exactly, right? That's too simplistic. It doesn't work like that, right? And so we really have to rethink the game. And therefore, you're absolutely right. We're doing it in one way, but actually we're very conscious that whatever we're succeeding with now, we have to continuously up the game as we go forward.
Well, let's look at the we that is integrity action. For the most part, we have arguments put on the table that these anti-corruption agencies or anti-corruption civil society movements or anti-corruption actions are they themselves not above the vice of corruption itself? That for the most part, you are here shouting anti-corruption, let's do this, let's do the other. But on the other hand, you in your own little cocoon where you operate, you are not above nepotism, you're not above brigandage, you're not above siphoning of your donors' funds, and they give you 100 million shillings to fight a cause, and you only spend 1 million on the cause, and the other 99 goes into what you call logistics, but in other words, just enters right into your pockets. How are you able, with such a tag on your face, then to have the confidence and clout to stand before people and tell them that you actually mean business?
So the way I would put this is framing it a little bit differently than that. Of course there are instances of abuse, of fraud, of nepotism, but let's set that aside for just a moment. Because yes, that can exist in business, it can exist in any sphere of society. NGOs aren't immune from that. But the real question is, are the NGOs in this sector working on anti-corruption, transparency, accountability, are they really helping to close the loop? That's the question I would ask. So are they having an impact?
But you see, let's give a metaphor of a church. You like metaphor, so I'll give you a metaphor of a church. If a church is supposed to preach goodness, love, kindness, but the very priests at the pulpit do not exercise these very virtues in their own lives, they therefore lose the moral authority to preach that to their flock. So if you as organizations, civil society organizations, are not above the little machinations of corruption here and there, you lose the locus standi for you to be able therefore to have a moral high ground, or whatever high ground that you may want to preach from, and say, look, we can fight corruption or close the gap, as you call it.
Again, though, I totally accept that, right? And I'm not saying that NGOs can't perform better in some respects, but let's not tarnish them all with one brush. Most of them are reporting to their donors, have accounts, are audited, etc., and the expectations are actually quite high. That isn't to say that there aren't cowboy NGOs out there, but I really should say that it's actually even more important to focus on the impact that they're having. Are they having really an impact, or are they just talking the talk? And this is where we really need to be held to account. Because one thing is to talk the talk, to make noise,
absolutely,
right? But another thing is to actually generate results. Once I start generating results, then also hold me account, obviously, for the question, how cost effective am I, right?
The question is then, who holds you to account? Because you seem to be the omnipresent holder of accounts.
Right.
So, I mean, you're the one who holds everybody to account, including and not limited to we in the journalism fraternity. So who holds you to account?
Partly peers, partly donors, and obviously it should be beneficiaries as well. And indeed the government has a role. So we should be held to account by a whole variety of stakeholders, and NGOs can definitely be a bit more transparent than they are.
So I don't want to get personal with you, but of course for the most part, NGOs led by people like you coming in from outside Uganda, many people seem to say, oh well, Frederick is just here on a tour of duty, he's a mere tourist, but he's just trying to, create his impact, appear on local TV, speak on radio, wear an African print shirt, and just leave a holiday. Well, we call it African because Madiba did popularize this, and so then he hobnobs in wonderful hotels like the Serena for his own symposia and stakeholder engagements. And at the end of his 2-year tenure, 3-year tenure, 5-year tenure, he goes back to another country where he's now living, hanging out in the hammock in Honolulu and sipping a pina colada. Yeah. At the end of the day, you come and go and possibly leave nothing on the ground. Does it bother you that people think that way about people like you?
I think it's justified by some, right? And aid has a very, very mixed track record, right? So let's acknowledge that. There's no hiding behind that. And part and parcel of the failures of governance, right, are also the failures of aid and the governance of aid. So is progress happening? I think it is slowly happening, but it could be far, far better than it has been. So aid needs to be far more accountable as well. It needs to be more transparent. It needs to deliver better. When it comes to my own work, our accounts, our sources of funding, our staffing, our ethics code, our complaints line, all of those are very transparent and very open. So I think we're a pretty good benchmark for that, for our own financial controls, etc. We report internal fraud to the Charity Commission in the UK. It's happened a couple of times. So we have nothing to hide ourselves.
Let me give you about possibly wax lyrical about your operations and how very effective they are. Let's look at your organization. How far-reaching is this organization? How much Ugandanness do we have in it? How much involvement of local people do you have? From the point of employment, how many districts are you reaching out to? How many local communities? What's your spread? Or are you simply a Kampala, Wakiso, NTV best organization that is only in hotels and not much?
Very good that you're turning the table in that sense. So, Simon, we have no one here on the ground, right? We work with, for example, Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, a major Ugandan human rights NGO. We worked with Uganda Death Network and with the Aga Khan Foundation, and actually with the Serena hotels at a certain point, because we were working with the Aga Khan Foundation in 8 countries. So we have a range of partners, no person on the ground. So working entirely
also the local partners. Different, local partners, but you provide the funding and possibly some oversight on the line.
Exactly. And what we provide is a methodology, right, which we have refined. It's taken us almost 10 years to refine this approach of finding the ingredients that are actually repeatable and sustainable, and how we can actually close the loop from identifying a problem to actually resolving it. So when you ask the tough questions, as you do, and this is your role.
I have.
Absolutely. So if you ask the tough questions of finding out an NGO, is it just doing advocacy? Is it just doing awareness raising? Is it in any sense, can it demonstrate that it's actually closing the loop on problems? You will actually find, and this is the self-criticism, Simon, you will find that most NGOs can't show you how they're really closing the loop. They can show you one case, 2 examples, 3 examples, but they can't show that they're doing it consistently. It's starting to happen. So we have a roads monitoring NGO in Uganda doing very interesting work. We have others we're working with through the cost, which is a construction section transparency initiative. Various efforts that are now gearing not just to awareness raising, not just to standard setting, but actually trying to take it beyond that, to make sure that the loop is being closed. Because what you've had far too much of is just institution building. Let's create a new government agency, let's create a new NGO, let's create a new network, let's raise more awareness. People have enough awareness. People know there's a problem out there.
You need to offer them solutions,
what
not harp onto the problem.
That's exactly
Frederick Galton, Chief Executive Officer of, what do you call it, Integrity Action?
That's right.
Where there has been a very intrinsic and very insightful dissemination of information from where you sit. I must say I take from you one thing, and good and heavy sense of optimism. Let's take a short break. When we return, as Simon says. What can I say differently from what has been discussed on this show, but even previous others, about corruption that you possibly do not know? What magic bullet solution do you think I can offer you that possibly you've not thought about? Or what kind of ingenious method of curbing corruption can be generated from here that the world has not thought about? I do not really think that I want to put myself in a position of creating a fast or putting in place a solution that is going to curb an age-old problem. But I want to share, and of course implore you to share with me the sense of optimism that things are actually getting better. Well, for the most part, they seem to get worse before they get a lot better. That's more like taking 2 steps backwards to prepare yourself to take a zoom step across that will propel you to a long height, more like what you do when you're going in for the long jump. And yes, indeed, the long jump does take place, and all we can do is to cheer on those who are taking the long jump in the fight against corruption. That is the only way that possibly this can be curbed. But I must say that the fight against corruption is not for civil society organizations, members of the media, government authorities, or local leadership. It is a fight that all of us individually, in our very small ways, in our mundane and personal ways, can embark on. And the collective sum of all our little efforts in whatever facet we are, dissuading our children from campaigning in schools for electoral positions and giving them incentives and sweets to share with their friends, allowing our children to actually do read as opposed to going on Google to find answers, in other words, cheating, imploring us to ensure that we do the right thing and not do the wrong things in the full glare of our children. All this and a lot more would possibly create that sustainable change against corruption, and possibly will deliver the result shorter than the 3 generations which other developed countries like the USA and other Western powers have had to endure to ensure that they are at the stage where they are. Of course, we are not lucky to be a small homogeneous country like Rwanda, for example, or even for that matter Singapore. So as a big heterogeneous society that Uganda is, I think it just needs to take the collective good of all of us to ensure that we present on the table goodness, collective sum of which will present a corrupt-free society. If that is not what they call preaching, what is it? Have a wonderful Tuesday morning, make it profitable, and of course, desist from those little corrupt ways that you always ply your trade with. Have a wonderful morning and stay tuned to the program.
You can bring everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for the NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am MUI?
It's absolutely true. I admire the President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fiscal code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Asimwe. Asimwe. We are bringing your drink. Okay. Don't worry.
Mbasente zone mkofi yangu.
Sente.
Nzowa jemu.
Sitawanya demo mwenge.
Hani gutamu. Nkuwunyirira bwanze nja kukuba.
Tunaba kusasula myezi ebiri da nyumba gye batubanja. Oli mukunywa mwenge n'abakazi.
Kikulu nnyo fe abeewola okumanya zi banka n'abatuwola engeri gye babalamu amagoba.
Lwaki obuuza ekibuuzo ekyo?
Sente zaabwe.
Dembe lyo ekyo kikulu nnyo okukimanya. Onfuna kikulu nnyo okusooka okunoonyereza tusobole okwetegereza n'okwekkaanya. Okifuna amagoba n'oluvannyuma tulondeko amagoba agasinzeeko okuba amatono.
Na NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo gw'ebyemizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mupya kati ate gukyusiza n'obudde gwa 7 gwali gwa 9 ne gugoberera ntusanyuka kati gulongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo kusooka guwatayize gubaletire bintu kyonna kalonda n'ebyemizannyo omuli gw'ebyemizannyo mupya 2014 isima waali alagira Argentina yende mukubira eddiba lye omukwano gujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe Batiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'emizannyo 2014 hezinte.
Are you and I ever gonna have a chance to be sisters?
You want the baby to have my name?
Would that be okay?
Son, I'm happy you came. Yes, especially since I thought you were shunning all things Newman. I have my own reasons for showing up.
What did you say about him?
I'm sorry, attempted rape.
Okay, look, whatever you think you know about him, you don't know his heart.
If there is a way to make me feel more miserable, you will instinctively find it.
You gave up the one woman you loved, and now you're having a hard time figuring out how to move on? I can't imagine who would want to hurt a good man like you.
Okay, you know what? I don't need you telling me how to feel about Lily.
Are you pregnant? No. Then why are you trying to alienate Tyler?
Has something happened between the two of you? Are you afraid that I'm gonna do something to ruin your marriage, or that you will?
Why don't we have a party? I'll bring Nikki and bring your siblings. How's that?
Now, what are you gonna do? You gonna blackmail them this time, or are you gonna bribe them?
Looks like Mommy's not the only one who knows how to make up a story.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Deception.
Wow, chista tegera. In fact, chechintwala ku police.
Police?
By no arresting before they change my land title.
I was thinking I should have a DNA test.
DNA?
Who is this woman? I don't know the woman, but she seems to know you more.
Nzize kulaba gwe. Njagala kutwala out.
Out?
Deception.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you so much for staying with us up to this time. It's 10 after 8 and yes, we're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Mabel is at the NTV studios standing by, of course, the birthday wishes. Before the break, we had Frederick Galton, who is the CEO of Integrity Africa, and Simon, who are also talking about how to fight corruption in this country. Over 500 billion shillings that is lost every year. How can we track that? MPs coming up, of course, with more ingenious ways of getting more revenue for government. And now a suggestion that each phone holder or phone owner should be charged 5,000 shillings. We need your comments or suggestions or questions on our Facebook page, Morning at NTV. And of course, you can tweet it at Morning at NTV. Now, I've been talking about, you know, drawing the phones for HTC the whole week. And some of you are like, mutfeda. So we are going to draw, and I'd like to invite John Paul from HTC to come and draw 4 phones today on the show. Good morning.
Morning, bro.
How are you?
Fine, sir. How are you?
You definitely look, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, John Paul, first of all, how have people been reacting to, you know, phones? I don't want you to disclose the profits, but so far, what's the feedback for, you know, as far as the HTC?
Yeah, we've gotten a good turn up. Our customers have come in, and we are contented with the figures. And it's a growing product in the country, and it's really growing pretty fast, and we're impressed with it.
Tell us about the M8. We've been asking that question the whole week, and some have been trying it, but the M8 is going to be launched at the finals of the Champions League.
Yes.
What is so special about it?
The M8 is our new flagship phone. It's a 100% metal body. The previous HTC.
What does that mean? So for me, I'm holding a chupuri.
No. It's metal, but this is crafted out of 70%, and the other components are glass, and the other one is yes.
Okay.
The other one is probably 99%, and the only component which is on glass is the top, which is not metal is the top.
Right.
Then it has 2 cameras, which help on resolution. It has one of them, the top one is for what we call ultra pixel shots. So it's a different gadget.
Wow. Okay, so I think
stamped as the best smartphone just got bit actually. From the M7, which is the HTC One.
Yeah.
This is really a machine.
All right, I'll have to check it out.
Yes.
All right. Now, 4 winners this week, okay. And I know your phone number, so if you choose it, I will have to cancel you. All right.
I picked 2.
There are 2.
Yes.
Hey, so this one, this one is also a winner. Okay.
The first number is 0774 603 220.
Okay, I think we should. That's the number, the first winner of the HTC phone, 0774 603 220. All right. This one also won. You picked him by mistake, so yeah. People will say that corruption is.
The second winner is 070 560 5951.
That sounds like Kasiate's number. All right, 0705 605 951. That's the second winner of the HTC phone. All right, we'll pick 2 more winners. Some people have been tweeting me, they were inspired to buy the HTC phone because of the show.
The card is 0788 725 236.
All right. That's the third winner, 0788 725 236. All right, and the last person, it could be your number, so.
The last is 0752 938 974.
Okay. Those are the winners, 0752 938 974. There is 0705 605 951 and 0788 725236 and 0774 603 Congratulations to the winners of the HTC phones, and we'll definitely get in touch with you, and you can come and collect your phones. Now, John, I've had these things, you know, I only hear them in car insurance. Now I hear that we can do it for phones. Tell us about that.
Okay, we're doing something that has never been done. We get many customers. You see, HTC are high-end phones. We get many customers who come in and say, look, I usually we buy these phones, our kids throw them in water, they are stolen, many things happen to them. They break, they fall down and they break. So as HTC Hub, what we're doing is that besides the warranty of 1 year, we are comprehensively insuring your phone for 1 year. This will cover things like theft, if your phone is stolen, things like breakage, it falls down and it cracks the screen. If it's the cost of repairing it is probably about 50%, actually 40 of the cost, then we replace the phone with a new phone.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're trying to give back to our customers. If you buy an M8, which is probably 2.7 something, it's unfortunate that you're somewhere in a disco and it's someone pickpockets it and you lose the 2.7. So what I'm saying is that effective Thursday, which is 15th of this month, every phone that will be purchased from HTC Hub will be insured for 1 year.
Wow.
So they have, you can renew it after 1 year if you so wish. If you don't wish, you can probably store, but at least for 1 year you will be insured, comprehensively insured.
Because you've been switching from phones now, from cars to phones. That is fantastic. But we hope you don't intentionally break the screens because you will also prove whether
there are some procedures that there's some procedures that we will pass through. It's the normal insurance procedures and
So if your phone gets lost probably in a disco, stay at the crime scene until they come and assess. We will be with the winners on Friday morning and we'll hand them the phones live on the show. Well, Mabel is standing by with your birthday wishes. Good morning, Mabel.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brian. Exciting to see some phones given out. We'll be coming back with birthdays and I'll be telling you who. I guess you've already seen him, but I'll be telling you how old he is turning.
Happy birthday to you.
This is an old picture of Stevie Wonder. Today he turns 64 and he is one of the people who has defied the odds and become an Grammy Award winning singer sensation, and he's still going strong. Stevie Wonder, many happy returns. We also have an interesting gentleman. Dennis Rodman turns 53 today, and we see him, I think, with his new best friend, the president of North Korea. And I look at the height difference and I'm like, oh, this guy is also not too short. But anyway, he is, I don't know if he's the ambassador or he has given himself that role, but he has been apparently they are friends of some sort. And we all know North Korea and America are not the best of friends. But anyway, he says people don't understand the gentleman. Not forgetting, let's not take away from Dennis Rodman's career in basketball. He was a distinguished career, eccentric if you asked me, but looking at all his pictures, all his tattoos, all his rings on the nose and the lips, and it's good to see that now maybe he's grown old, he is doing something positive. To some of your messages today, earlier we were talking about corruption, and we have Bright Isabidie saying here, to get real, there is nothing we are doing because even the anti-corruption bodies are full of corrupt creatures. How do you send thieves to escort money to the bank? Abana Uganda, twelimba. And we have Isaac saying it's not easy to stop corruption since those with the responsibility are the ones on top of corruption. Sherry Allen says, seriously, there is too much greed within us that it hurts our ears. Can you imagine? Corruption is the order of the day. It's just that people are too selfish to care about their fellow citizens. It's a big shame. Lewis David says, now these CSOs, that is the civil service organizations, are themselves very corrupt. Let them first get clean. Let them first clean their house. And two, these NGOs should leave politics and do what brought them here. General Aronda should regulate them. Rogers says, start with the heads of the country. And we have the guest, Chigongo, saying, the guest seems to have points, but let me hope he studied enough about African attitudes towards development. Some of the Africans are born corrupt, and it's more or less a viral disease that is hard to diagnose. Those projects work on paper, not practically in institutions. They must be built first to show people that they are for the country and the people are not working for selfish gains. James says the corruption can't stop in this country according to the indicators, and failing to capture the so-called ababs of this country, yet corruption dwells there. Leave a grain of cereals poured on the ground. I don't quite understand that. I love the show. Well, Brian, whom do we have today on Everyday Life?
Well, thank you so much, Mabel. This morning on Everyday Life, I'm very privileged to have a very young man, very awesome entrepreneur, Sean Seguia, and we're going to be looking at self-education. What does that mean, and how can you ably do it? Coming up on Everyday Life. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sean.
Thank you so much for inviting
I know that you are a very experienced entrepreneur. You have paid me before.
Yes. And I'm willing to pay you again.
Hey, tell us about what your company does.
Well, currently I'm running 2 companies, but the forefront one is a media company. It's called Excite Media. Excite has been in the market since 2008. We registered as a company in 2010.
Right.
We're into PR advertising, we're into creating solutions for clients that can enable them showcase whatever they do in video, in audio, in quite a number of different things.
Right.
We've also gone into creating TV content. We've had one of our shows on NTV, the One Mic Show. We also have a publication department.
What happened to the One Mic Show, man?
It's coming back.
Yeah.
We always have it towards the end of the year, so my teams are doing their thing to make sure we come back live and clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant show.
Brilliant,
I
yeah.
totally loved it.
Thank you.
Rapping is not my thing, So probably get Becky on the show or something, but one day. Yeah. Well, this morning, I invited you to talk about something called self-education. Some people call it self-teaching. Maybe likely someone would say self-motivation. But let's start by definition. What exactly?
I think for me, self-education or self-motivation is a way someone needs to understand whatever they are doing around them, or they need to equip themselves with knowledge, with things that allow them move forward in whatever they intend to do. For instance, if I intend to go to school, I need to understand that for me to go to school, I have to go to the best college. I have to go to the I have to have the right teachers, and I have to have the right environment that will allow me excel in my school. So it's a matter of equipping yourself with particular knowledge that can allow you move forward in whatever you intend to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there, for example, excuses that we give? And I personally have an excuse of I'm not a guy who reads a lot, so I will only read when it's important.
Well, I guess it depends on what one intends to do over time. For instance, if you're a businessman, you intend to do business, you need to understand the players that have made it in the particular field you're playing. You need to understand where they went wrong, and you need to understand how best you can learn from what they're doing to have it in whatever you're doing. Yes, we have excuses. I'm not a good reader, but I love certain books that impact me, that have a great can I call it oomph on my life? Yeah. I love books that challenge me. I love knowing how certain men did it for them to be wherever they to be wherever they are, or how they did whatever they're doing.
Right.
So that I see how best I apply it to my life. I also love learning from other individuals that have made it in life, because in business, unless unless you equip yourself with knowledge of different fields, you can never really make it to where you want to be in life. Yeah.
Right. Should I just adopt maybe a learning habit? Does it always work?
Well, it's not about the learning habit. It's about having that motivation towards understanding where you want to be. I normally speak about having a self-vision to where you want to be. It's really, really important.
Right.
If I say in 10, 15 years I need to be somewhere like here, then I'll equip myself with knowledge that will allow me be in that place.
And knowledge is not only passed on through books, you know. You can get it through meeting people in those particular fields. You can meet clients that will, over time as you work with them, teach you, you know, that on-ground experience is quite very important for one to really acquit themselves with knowledge in a particular field.
Particularly in school, how does the self-education work?
Well, I think in school you have to be self-motivated for you to to learn quite enough, because when you look into, for instance, the school here, there are things you learn and they're not going to apply to your life.
Right.
So for you to go through school to get good grades, you have to be motivated at the end of the day to make sure that you get or attain the grades everyone wants you to get. But much of the things that are taught in schools here are things that don't even apply in life. For instance, what would European history help me as a Ugandan? When I have Ugandan history I can learn from, you know?
Well, when I travel to Europe, I know what I'm talking about.
How many Ugandans travel to Europe in a particular period of time, you know?
Right.
It's quite a number, you know? It's quite a number that can afford to go to Europe, and even when they go to Europe, it does not even apply, you know? I think we need to acquit ourselves with things, with knowledge of things that apply today. For instance, if someone told me about the markets in school, I would walk out and meet the markets in school. I mean, I would walk out and meet the markets in the everyday life, you know? If someone acquitted me with the factors that affect the social environments of a given geography, that would be applicable to me, because I would walk out and experience it, you know?
Right.
But we learn different things, and so in school, I guess one has to be self-motivated to walk through school and get those good grades, and later on give the grades back to their parents.
We've heard of the 7 habits of highly effective people. You know, we've read books of Poor Dad, Rich Dad.
Yes.
They're all these simple steps. For making sure that I self-educate myself, are there habits that I should adopt?
Well, I would say to me, there's really no formula on how best one should adopt particular habits to help them attain what they want to attain in life. But I think from my point of view, one has to be with a passion to see themselves get to a particular point, you know. When you have a passion, it attracts the people you want to help you learn about a particular field. It helps you attract the clients. It helps you attract the knowledge you need, you're seeking, because without passion, you won't go to the internet and research. Without passion, you won't attract people that will speak to you on how best you have to do, or you have to go about something. Without passion, you won't seek help from the right mentors. Many times people say, yeah, I have a mentor here, I have this mentor, but we even have them for the wrong reasons. Maybe we have wrong mentors rather than having the right ones that will enable us, you know, proceed better in whatever we intend to do in a given period of time.
That's very good. Well, if you're just joining us, I'm talking to Sean Seguya, who is an entrepreneur, but also today we are looking at self-education. How do you help yourself become better? You might be a good reader, but also what are some of those habits that should help you get to that point? So your feedback would be definitely appreciated on our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and you can tweet it at Morning at NTV. How important is one's character in this? Because, you know, like me, I get bored very quickly.
I think character, if you understand the definition of character, to me character is built with time, you know. It's about where one focuses and where one wants to be at a given period of time. That enables them attract the character they want to live, you know. That helps them invite people that will help them shape that character, you know. Not everyone was born with the building we are seated in today, but today a person owns it. Why? They saw where they wanted to be at a particular time. They attracted that character, and today when you speak of investors, you'll speak about them. Why? Because they've put an oomph in what they believed in, and today it's realized. So I believe character is built over time. If one needs to, for instance, get good grades, they'll find themselves around the reading culture, you know, and that will become
they
a
have
character.
to get themselves there.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So I think character is built, and there are factors that build that, yeah.
As an entrepreneur, how has it helped in your business?
Well, in the particular market we're in, there are very many players. Yeah. And besides being many players, there are also those players that are really significant. You know, when you mention them everywhere,
everyone knows them.
Exactly, yeah. So one, how is it helping my business? I've come to learn what these players do, and I've learned to collaborate with them. You know. Two, I've also learned to know that technology grows over time, so I've learned to work with the technology. Then three, I've learned to read people's stories, analyze them, and get what works for my story.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm also building a story. Maybe one day someone will read about it.
Yeah.
It will have a great effect on their lives.
Right.
Yes.
Well, your comment or your question will be appreciated. Let's continue the conversation there. Sean Seguya, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me here.
Yeah, and we wish you the best of luck in everything.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, I'll definitely come for that money.
For sure.
Now, in a couple of minutes, we'll be having Isma, Mabel, and I talking sport this morning. So make sure you stay with us. Good morning.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Filagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not. Blood? Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa ab'ekika era
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagenda mu lukoola eyo ina kasongola mu buluuri twagenda mu butale lwabalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti muyise bosi basajja omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo tobeera mu ssuuti ate n'oteeka mu gganduula olina kubeerako kimu kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina
Olabira abaganda baagala kabaka.
Ekifo ekimu kissa wamusu n'ekyalo ekiweddeko abamanye bakiraza mumwa. Tugenda kutuuka gy'oli oyogere naffe ebikwata ku kyalo kyo, embeera mw'okolera, ebyobufuzi, ebyobulamu n'ensonga endala nnyingi. Ebyogerwa tebiyita. Tuusa eddoboozi lyo, yogera naffe buli lwakuna otereevu ku NTV akawungeezi.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
How? Tugenda okwebaka ekimu. Yangambye omanyi weebakeko nange omulundi gw'ogusembayo.
I went to the nurse and I asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombye ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokezza naze poza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza
kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
51% of the shares. From now on.
51%. I must say, I'll take it. But I guarantee you, I'll pay you every penny.
And I'm also pretty sure about that.
Simply because you want that. You are my sister, okay? But that doesn't give you the right to come here and say that to me. It's a bunch of nonsense what you're saying, especially that I don't love Fred. You're just interested in his wealth.
Destiny River.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
A very good morning. Thank you so much for staying with us. I know a couple of you wait strictly for the sports segment with Isma. Good morning, Isma.
Good morning.
You're kind of looking like Pep Guardiola with this thing, you know.
Pep Guardiola's sweater is always either maroon or red. And actually, when I saw him in the game between Real Madrid and Bayern, and was wearing, I think, was it blue? I started fearing for Bayern. I feared for Bayern. I was thinking they won't win.
Is that when they started losing that consecutive game?
Yeah, that's when they were losing. He wasn't wearing that red and maroon sweater, either the red or maroon.
There's always this conspiracy theory about how a jersey affects the performance of players.
You know,
is it true?
Sportsmen are extremely superstitious, even don't know how. They are extremely superstitious. For example, cricketers would have a specific bat that helps him score runs. The day doesn't carry that bat, he believes he won't score, and many times they don't. They are extremely superstitious. Actually, I remember there's even a player in the NBA, Amari Stoudemire of the New York Knicks. When they win, when they start winning games and he's wearing sneaks when they are winning, he doesn't change them until they lose. When they lose, then he changes and gets new sneaks because he knows now the lack of his sneaks has run out. And there are so many stories like that you could pick up on.
I know, for example, like Arsenal, every time we wear yellow, we are beaten.
That's because you play poor away from home. Yeah, because those games are always away from home when Arsenal are wearing yellow.
Okay.
I remember a United fan who once told me that he thought every time United wore black shirts, you know, United's first jersey is red shirt, white shorts, and then white socks.
That's the home kit.
That's a home kit. Now, normally when they travel away from home and they need to change their kit, they'll wear the red shirt, a black shorts, and probably white socks or black socks, depending on how the other team is dressed.
Right.
And every time he saw his team in black shirts, he was always afraid. But just because the team was playing poor away from home, I thought nothing really in that.
Well, now, for me, my superstition is always, if a particular player scores, then we are going to be beaten. If a defender scores, she will lead the, you know. But this morning, Isma, some great news coming from the national camp. Odonkara is now fit. And everything seems to be falling into place. Do you think we are now, we seem to be on the road to Madagascar now?
It seems like so because in the first week there's a lot of these stories, players absenteeism, some for their clubs and some because of injury, and then the thing about Nambole. Now, like the Ugandan syndrome, at the final minute we seem to get things right. If you had a visitor in your house, and probably by the time they are hooting at the gate before they come in, you have probably a shoe on the table in the living room. Somehow it disappears when the visitor arrives. And we are totally being Ugandan. Now, yesterday, FUFA informed everyone that Robert Odonkara is now fit after getting injured, playing for his club St. George last week on Tuesday, and should join the squad today.
before the team leaves for Madagascar on Friday. And they seem to have figured out who is going to play where. Mitchell may not yet tell everyone who should be on the plane to Madagascar on Friday, but they seem to have settled on who is going to play. Knowing that Geoffrey Massa is out, can't play, knowing that Tony Maweje is out, everything seems to fall into place just at the right time. Probably not perfect, but if there are ever quick fixes, you need to get those quick fixes in time.
Yeah.
So before the house burns down, we are probably saving a few things from the bedroom and some from the kitchen, and we just probably let the living room burn with Massa and Maweje and all the other guys who are missing.
Right.
So it's one of the things I like about the Uganda Cranes, that it creates such a positive vibe across, whether those who follow football or those who love sport as much. Those who love sport as much as I do probably follow the team to see the performance and judge the players. Now, for many others, it's just a social event. For the others, it's just about patriotism. It's Uganda playing. The same way for scream for Stephen Kiprotich.
Yeah.
When it's a Ugandan playing or performing, everyone goes in like it means everything. So that's the kind of thing that I see with the team. So by the end of the week, you'll get to hear fans start to dream about a result in Madagascar. People will want the result, because thereafter everyone will forget everything that has gone wrong in the preparation. Everyone will forget who is missing, and everyone will just want the national team to go there and win.
Well, let's hope our Madagascar trip definitely, brings back some. I think we should be able to beat Madagascar,
I think over the 2 legs we should.
We should, really.
I've tried to find, to be honest, and Mitchell was saying this, I think, on Sports Bar last night. There isn't a big difference in Africa football, and he was telling everyone about how much he knows about Madagascar. Personally, Madagascar, because I've covered them playing rugby, I love their names because they're about 20 letters, each one of them. Ravolo Manana, and something like that. So when that's the first thing that comes to mind. One thing I know, they're a very good rugby country. Football, they play in the COSAFA in the Southern Hemisphere tournament that is equivalent to the SECAFA, but I don't think
we should be able to get a result.
Yeah, especially
good luck
the second
to our team, and Mitchell are doing definitely a fantastic job. The two finalists from last year, Miami Heat and San Antonio Spurs, were in action this morning. Did they win as they usually do? What happened?
The Miami Heat did win their game this morning, 102-96 against the Brooklyn Nets to move ahead in their series. That is now 3-1. This is a team that beat Miami Heat during the regular season on 4 occasions, and they swept them. That was 4-0. But LeBron James this morning, tying his playoff career high of 49, could have scored 50. I did not miss his final free throw there. Brilliant game from LeBron James. Just got Miami Heat over the line there as they won that one. And then the San Antonio Spurs were beaten by the Portland Trail Blazers. Finally, Portland get a game of the San Antonio, because if San Antonio had won this morning, they would have swept the Portland Trail Blazers by 4-0. But with facing elimination from the semifinals of the Western Conference, the Portland Trail Blazers found a way to win finally, and that game just ended about 15 or 20 minutes ago. Portland winning that by 103-99 there to move it to at least stay alive in the series. Now tied at 3-1.
Games are really close. These teams are doing well. You lose, but you feel like just if you had done like a 3-shot or something, you could have won the game.
You could have won the game. So I remember the Sunday night when OKC were playing the LA Clippers. The game was at 101-99, and then Russell Westbrook took a stupid shot. I'd call it a stupid shot because I had a bit of time on the clock. He shot a 3 when he could have gone in and driven and probably got a foul, and probably had enough time to shoot the free throws and tie the game. Eventually, they didn't have the luck because Sergei Ibaka missed the putback, which was very easy. He had no one defending him. But that's the kind of margin. They lost the game by 2, but they could have tied it and sent it to overtime. Okay, on another occasion, that Russell Westbrook shot would go in. The way Damian Lillard did one in the last round for the Portland Trail Blazers, that could go in, and then they are through to the next round.
Well, definitely, those of you who are very passionate about NBA, you can catch that more action of that very early in the morning, but I guess it's worth it if you love the game.
It's worth it.
Man City want this particular title to spark a season of dominance in Europe and in England. Is that realistic? Or next season we are going to see another title, challenger, they'll drop it?
I think for City, they haven't yet figured out how to compete in the Champions League. That's going to remain a challenge. But you'd call them, they are not yet the dominant team in England, because when they won the Premier League back in 2012, they failed to defend it, and then they took it away from them the following year. Now they've won 2 titles in 3 years, and they can actually financially dope. You know what financial doping is? Where a club can win the market and throw 150 million pounds in without facing any kind of problem. Probably right now they will, because it's financial fair play rules, and they're going to be punished for overspending them, and PSG about 50 million pounds in fines, and then their squad will be limited from 25 to 21 in the Champions. They can't field more than 21 players throughout the Champions.
You're fined for buying
for spending too much, because the financial fair play rules say you're going to spend within a certain bracket of the money you generate. If you're spending more than that, that's going to be a problem. But I think
I know a team that will never be fined, Arsenal.
but at least one thing, I think one of the first things that I think of a period of dominance in England, they've got to go and try to defend the Premier League. They must have been very disappointed last time they couldn't defend it. So probably they've got to go and defend. They still have the best team in England. You don't think they'll get rid of so many of their players who have probably got them here, except if those players want to leave. Probably if Sergio Aguero, and there's been speculation about Sergio Aguero wanting to go to Barcelona. And if it's about money, but Man City will pay more than Barcelona would. But in that kind of sense, I would want to see Man City first of all defend one league title, win it back to back. Then thereafter, I can start to think about a period of dominance. Okay, they were never the club that competed for trophies until they won that FA Cup against Stoke back in 2011. Then they won the Premier League in 2012. Now this one they won the League Cup and then won the Premier League. So it's a period of success, and actually, for a certain generation of Man City fans, they can't relate to what is happening to their club because they've never seen their club this successful.
Right.
Or probably for Liverpool fans who lived in the 70s and 80s, they've never seen their club fail to win for this long. Now, the reverse is true for Man City. So that kind of thing, I think, will sink in.
At least every season they'll expect something.
It's a minimum because I remember one of the stories that came out when Manuel Pellegrini was handed this job coming from Malaga last year. He was given a challenge to win 5 trophies in 5 years. He has 2. 3 more to go. One of those has got to be competing in the Champions League.
Wow, that's a big job. I don't want to, Arsene Wenger always talks about how somehow we are imprisoned by people who have never managed the game in their life, but they tell us what to do every day. So you kind of understand.
I like
Speaking of Arsenal, this is a very big week.
Yeah.
How important is this going to be in our club's history?
You said
our. Yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan. So.
I think it's been a very tough period for the Arsenal. They haven't won a trophy in 9 years. They haven't won the Premier League in 10, and that will be 11 because there isn't a trophy to win. So it will be 11 years next season. I think it's very important for Arsenal to win the FA Cup. Sometimes when teams are not winning, I always think that winning a trophy should spark the team back into life, especially teams that are used to winning.
Yeah.
Just that one trophy could be the trophy that sparks teams into life. And Arsenal has got to take this game against Hull City very, very importantly. Arsene Wenger has been talking about how the FA Cup won't decide what it does with this contract, and he's tried to downplay it. I think it's totally wrong. I've seen Hull City, ever since they go to the FA Cup final, they've not won a game in the Premier League. They've lost 5 in a row because their minds are at Wembley. And Steve Bruce has said it repeatedly, the manager at Hull, that ever since they won that FA Cup semi-final, everything about the players is trying to tell them to forget about Wembley. All the players know it's Wembley that matters.
It's that crucial.
Exactly. Hull will be underdogs, but there are so many underdog stories you could tell across football. You could go back way in time to find so many underdog stories that have ended up with a smaller team winning. Now for the Arsenal, I've got to think this is a very, very, very important time for the club. The club hasn't won. The fans have been so loyal and they believe in what the club is doing. Many of them do. Now, the only thing you can give those fans back is a trophy. Arsene Wenger has got to go there and give it to. And actually, I have a feeling that if he doesn't win the FA Cup on Sunday, he hasn't signed that new contract. I'll take it out from the table. If I was the chairman, I'll take it out.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think Ivan Gazidis thinks the same way the chairman at Arsenal. I think he's that the kind of person who believes in the Arsene Wenger philosophy. Spend 2 million and hope to earn 30 million. Yeah, that's that kind of philosophy where it's extremely unrealistic. I know the biggest companies that make money are the ones that invest the most. The electricity, the oil companies, the oil refineries, they're the ones who make those obscene profits. No one runs a business investing 20,000 and makes a profit of 100 million. But the ones the oil companies do. So Arsenal has got to become an oil company at some point.
Well, will this be a job decider, I guess, for Arsene Wenger? Will we also see planes with stickers? The wrong one after 11 years. Wenger out. The FA Cup final. I'm very excited about it. I hope these guys do this favor. Otherwise, I won't come to the show the next day if we don't win that. Rio Ferdinand is leaving. Has the rebuilding started?
It starts even way before the manager is signed, because there's been speculation that Louis van Gaal will be unveiled as Manchester United manager this week before he goes to the World Cup in Netherlands.
Yeah.
But just before Van Gaal comes in, who for me is going to be a brilliant manager. He's a firefighter. He comes into clubs that are struggling and really turns the clubs around. And I think he'll turn around United. Now, before Van Gaal chooses who he wants, Ferdinand is being told he won't be offered a new contract. And he has actually stated for the past 2 months that he wants to continue playing football, probably at United. And hasn't been given that chance. I think inevitably he was supposed to leave, to be honest. Great defender. Probably for me, he's the greatest defender I've watched in the Premier League. He's as calm as they come. Yeah, for me, I like defenders who don't get into contact and grab people's shots. I like Alessandro Nesta. I like Franco Baresi. I like the clean guys. Yeah. And Ferdinand is one of the cleanest ones I've watched. So I think letting him go at this point is inevitable. But then United's building problem gets worse, because you're losing your 2 centre-backs in one season. Nemanja Vidic is going to Inter Milan. Yeah. Rio Ferdinand is probably going to play in America. And then thereafter, Patrice Evra will leave. They still need midfielders. We all know that. So the rebuilding process gets a bit tough. I would have loved United to keep either Ferdinand or Vidic. I would have preferred Vidic to stay for one more season and probably help the young players develop. You need those young defenders to come up. You need Phil Jones. You need Chris Smalling. All those guys to develop. Now, with Ferdinand leaving, whoever comes in has a bigger job. And that manager, that's why I think at United, at this point, they shouldn't even think about Ryan Giggs. They shouldn't even think about a young manager in the 40s. They need a manager with experience who has worked in the toughest times. And that manager should be like Louis van Gaal. That's the kind of manager who will come and find a way how to replace Ferdinand and Vidic in a few months.
Right. Well, we'll see. Do we see any big signings already? So many players have been, Müller of Bayern Munich already linked to Man United.
There are going to be a lot of them. And I love to call this the silly season, because the next story we'll be doing is about the silly season. I think one of them that they might definitely sign could be Luke Shaw, the Southampton left back. That's one that has been in the pipeline for quite some time, unless Chelsea come up with more money for Southampton. But I think they're going to sign, I would fancy United to sign at least 3 to 5 players. I think they'll go after a midfielder. I would love that to be under Herrera, because David Moyes tried to sign him from Bilbao and they didn't get him at the time. They probably need a proven centre-back, probably Matthew Mills. Probably, I'm the person who thinks Chris Smalling should be given a chance at centre-back. He'll turn out to be a great defender. That kind of thing. But I think with United, it's going to be a very busy summer. As players go to the World Cup and then come at them, it's going to be a very busy summer for them to get that team right. But first of all, we are waiting to see whether that manager appointment will be made this week or in the few weeks ahead. And that will decide a lot about what United will do from here on.
Well, speaking of links, Lallana has been linked with Liverpool. What a very disappointing end to their season. I was, rooting for Steven Gerrard to finally get something that has eluded him for a long time. Did Liverpool get him? Or will they get him?
Will they get Lallana? Will they first win the Premier League? Gerrard thinks so. I think it's going to be much tougher, because all the teams will improve. I see Chelsea and Man City financially doping. I see Arsenal and Man United improving next season. That will make it much harder for Liverpool to win. But I think if they get Adam Lallana, they need some kind of improvement, because they need improvement in terms of creativity. Southampton have depended on Lallana not only for goals, but for creativity. And Liverpool are lacked in that area. Besides Felipe Coutinho, they don't have any other player. And probably in the second part of the season, Raheem Sterling came to the party and created some chances, started scoring goals. Now they need someone else. And I thought they lack competition in that area, in that attacking midfield. And probably Adam Lallana will do that for them. Where they get him, that will be about the money. Because Southampton will play hard ball. Southampton always have their players. They always have their academy producing players. Theo Walcott, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. They have several of them. But now they know how to milk money. And they know Liverpool want the player. Because according to the BBC, they know Liverpool have already placed a bid for him. It's about £15 million. I think Southampton will be wanting about 25. Would I pay £25 million for Lallana? Maybe not. But that's the price, that's the market. You cannot judge a player on what money they were paid, because they don't choose the price, they don't set the market prices. So I think if Liverpool want to go and improve, Lallana is one player who would improve them. But probably before they sign even creative players, every Liverpool fans want to hear Liverpool linked to defenders, because they conceded 50 goals this season. So probably they need to sign defenders first before they sign anyone going fast. Because they scored 100 goals. They've scored over 100 goals in the league, so there isn't a problem there. But then they conceded 50 at the back. That's where the problem should start.
I believe Liverpool's problem has always been their defense, even from the time of Carragher. So they should straighten that out.
Yeah.
Carragher was a very, very strong player.
And Carragher and Glenn Johnson loved the Arsenal games. They would somehow find a way to conjure up a chance for the Arsenal. And Arsenal would score.
Well, before we talk World Cup, Barcelona Atletico, the cup final, who are you rooting for?
I've rooted for Atletico to win the league because every neutral wants that. They haven't won in 18 years, and they've played that kind of brilliant football. In the games against Barcelona this one, they haven't seen a difference between the two sides. That's why I think in the Champions League, Atletico went on and won the game by a goal to nil. And they've prevented Messi scoring against them in 5 occasions, including a penalty that he missed at the start of the season, where he hit his ball, I think, on the post. When they come to that game over the weekend, the problem, the thing is that it's at the Camp Nou. You'd bank on Barcelona to get that one performance that has been lacking. And I said it here yesterday, I don't think Barcelona deserve to win the league. But they haven't been at that level. They couldn't yet win it because they need just that one performance. Probably from Iniesta or Messi or anyone else, and they'll get the result. Probably they'll be challenged physically because Atletico are very physical side, and they'll go to the Camp Nou knowing they can defend. I call them the best defensive team in Europe. They defend probably better than Chelsea, who have conceded 27 in the Premier League. And they'll go there playing for a draw, and they'll park the bus like the normies these days, the way Chelsea do it. Sure. Probably if Atletico park the bus, then they'll get the result. But for me, Barcelona will be favourites. This game is at the Camp Nou. You don't want to go to the Camp Nou wanting a result when Barcelona want it, however good a team you are. And many teams have gone there. I remember last year Bayern went there and won by 3 goals to nil. I made some money off that. But somehow you don't want to go to the Camp Nou wanting to win. And that's for me my biggest fear for Atletico. It would be very good to come back here on Monday and say Atletico are champions in Spain for the first time in 18 years. But I'd love, that sounds sweet on my tongue, but
it's literally impossible to do it at the Camp Nou.
Literally.
Well, we'll see what happens, and I think it would be nice for the underdogs to take something this year.
Like Hull City also underdogs.
Go why? That is different. The World Cup games, the World Cup squads are still flowing in. The other time we looked at Brazil. Tell us about England.
Yesterday, the squad was named, but just before it had been named, the cat had been let out of the bag by Ashley Cole on Twitter, because Roy Hodgson had called him and informed him that he's not taking him to Brazil. And consequently, Ashley Cole revealed that he had retired from the national team, from international football. If you look at the team, I like the fact that Roy Hodgson has gone young, because I'm not one of those who think England will go there and compete for the trophy.
I don't think England is a good team. I might be.
They are a decent team. They are probably not as good as the best teams in the world. I don't think they're as bad as everyone makes them out to be, but they're probably not as good as some of those teams. But I think the surprise from this, it's a very young side, so it means Ashley Cole doesn't go to the World Cup. That gives a place to Luke Shaw, who should go in as the substitute left back, as an understudy for Leighton Baines, who should start. The Everton left back has done very well this season. I'd love to see who they are going to choose in centre back. I have a feeling Royston will go for Gary Cahill and Phil Jagielka. I'd prefer Gary Cahill and Chris Smalling, because I think Smalling is a bit different from all the other defenders they have. Plays as a sweeper, can probably read the game better than all the others, and probably Phil Jones will be looking at it somewhere where he could get into the side. If Glenn Johnson starts at right back, I fear for them. I find him a very, very poor defender even at Liverpool. But then I think the surprises for me come in midfield. They have a very young midfield. They have a very dynamic Ross Barkley, brilliant player for Everton. I think for me, he scored the goal of the season against Newcastle. He ran about 70 yards and then scored that one. There's Raheem Sterling, who has done very well for Liverpool. There's Jack Wilshere, who has barely played football for Arsenal this one because he's been injured, but they've decided to go young, so they've chosen that kind of player. And then Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who has been intermittent, very inconsistent for the Arsenal, but has that one good game every other month or so. That I think inevitably was going to be chosen. So that means the other guys that you'd expect to be in the team, Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard, are there. And then Jordan Henderson, who has been brilliant. For me, one of the best 10 players in the Premier League last season, even if Liverpool didn't win the league. And then the strikers are the ones you'd expect. Wayne Rooney and Sturridge, you expect them to start when they go to Brazil. And then Danny Welbeck and Ricky Lambert. That means they don't have Jay Rodriguez, the Southampton striker who got injured. He's actually had knee surgery. He won't be going to the World Cup. But I think to everyone's surprise, Michael Carrick is missing from this team. I'd probably select him ahead of Milne or Wilshere or something. is a lot different from so many English players. They need to control the game at some point, especially against the smaller sides. You're playing Costa Rica or Honduras, that kind of opposition. You've got to control the game a bit more. Now I look at the entire midfield. They are all forward-thinking players because they all love to play running forward with the ball. Right. Probably Steven Gerrard has changed.
He's someone with a holding role.
Yeah, they don't have that kind of player. Probably Gerrard, because he played there for Liverpool this season, he's supposed to be doing that job. But I look at all the others. Jordan Henderson loves to run. He can be headless chicken at some point. You look at Chamberlain, Sterling, they all love to run with the ball. Lampard is more interested when he gets closer to the box and is trying to score. So Michael Carrick could be totally different from all the others. But Rayson thinks he's supposed to be on the standby list for England.
Who will get in the goals for England? Because
it's got to be Rooney and Sturridge. Sturridge has got 21 this season, so everyone will be looking forward to how well he perform at the World Cup. Yeah. He's had a fantastic season playing with Luis Suarez. Probably the way Liverpool players helped him score because Liverpool play attacking football. Probably England may not play the same way because they're in a very tough group because it has Italy, who are 4-time World Cup champions, and then they have Uruguay. Yeah. And Uruguay have Suarez and Cavani. That's the best, probably the best strike force in the world. So everyone will be looking at that. But it's going to be a very tough tournament for Liverpool, for England. Because I look at their team, and besides Wayne Rooney, you don't find that great player when they need that.
There's no Class A player. Well, apart from
Rooney is.
Rooney, Lampard, and Gerrard. So that's why I can never support a team like this. I support Italy. So yeah.
You'll be very happy when Italy beat England.
Because we will beat them. We are always beating them. Well, but Isma will be back at 1:30 p.m. with Lumansi and Alan on Omulmuli. Monday, 10:30 p.m. from Club Silk. We always have Sports Bar live. And before we head out, your African proverb. Derek Mulema this morning sending the African proverb, and it's from South Africa. The power of the crocodile is in the water.
And there are crocodiles that move on land. Isn't there a possibility? Haven't you seen
Is it faster on land?
No. It's faster in water. That's when it's in its zone. Natural habitat. I think it's about everyone. There are areas where you're strong. Probably I know where I'm strong. That one you don't probably have to tell me that. There are areas where you feel strong. There are point of strength. Where you feel the power, where you feel in control. Now probably if you met a crocodile on land, you could probably beat it, any other animal, even a human being. But if you met it in water, wow, there's only one winner.
If you meet me on my turf, I will do what I'm supposed to do. Well, I guess that is also a lesson for us. We should concentrate on our strengths rather than focus on our weaknesses. Do not go where you're not supposed to go really. Make sure you focus on what you can ably do. That's a good point for especially us who are trying.
But at what point do you discover what you are able to do? Because we go through this education system of 16 years and we never realize what we can actually do.
That's why they are now saying instead of career guidance, it should be career counseling, so that you're able to figure out early enough.
I needed something like that. I really needed something
instead
like
of career guidance, it's career counseling. We'll continue the conversation on our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and also Twitter at Morning at NTV. In case there's something that you want to be featured on this show, you can suggest, and we'll definitely see if that works. Morning at NTV continues with the soul moment from Isma and I and the entire crew here. Hasta la vista, baby.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulundo.
NTV, turning on your world.
Wangula Cash with Orange. Play and win up to 100 million shillings. Simply SMS the word WIN to 156. Answer simple questions and earn the highest points to win. Win 300,000 shillings daily. Win 750,000 shillings weekly. Win 2.5 million shillings monthly. And win a grand prize of 25 million shillings. Wangula Cash and become a millionaire. Each SMS costs 800 shillings. Opportunity, happiness, fun changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
It was an accident. She slipped and hit her head. I didn't want to kill her. I swear I didn't mean to kill her.
You're lying, you fool.
No. You can stay and listen to everything the gentleman has to say to me.
But you're gone. Come on now, is this any way to receive a friend? One might think you're afraid that I'd hurt you.
Are you crazy?
No. That was a warning shot, but I swear, the next one's for her.
What's going on, Irene? Wait.
If you lay a finger on my son, or graze him with a bullet, I swear I'll kill you. The only despicable traitor here is you, Antonia.
La Patrona.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
yatonda abantu bameka leka tegeke ensonga zange situka mu maso ne samwa kitafali muggulu erinnya lyo litukuzibwe obwakabaka bw'obujeyi byoyagala bikolebwe mu nze nga bwe bikolebwa mu ggulu bwe biba bikolebwa muno mu nze zino ze nsonga zange mukama nkusaba obulamu omwaka guno njagala ennyumba njagala emmotoka empya omwaka guno n'abaana bange basomere mu masomero agasingayo Kristiya mukama katonda yenzaddako okufuna ebyange wali waliko tuli mu layini naye nzaddako ebyange bitwala Kristiya mukama katonda yenzaddako okufuna ebyange wali waliko tuli mu layini naye nzaddako akimanye emyaka mingi obadde ng'okaaba kubanga ebyetaago byo bikuyinza obungi akimanyi ne bwowanika okusaba emikono tegikyasituka nga ne bwofukamira okusaba amaviivi gakigumira nga byosaba biruddewo nga tebalibo babifuna olukalala mwosimbye olaba luwanvu kati nkusabira nti bwenvaako wabaddako Kristiya mukama katonda yenzaddako Gumagumo w'Oluganda tova mu line ekifo kyo bakitwala okusindikagana n'obukokola bungi guma kaba kunyiga batya tova mu line y'amaaso ku Yesu. It's a struggle for the fittest. Tokaba mukwano wadde bakunyigiriza tofaayo mukwano guma aba bakuteganya tebali mu line ku list tebaliko listi ya Mukama Katonda yenza ddako okufuna ebyange wali waliko tuli mu line na yenza ddako ebyange bitwala listi ya Mukama Katonda yenza ddako okufuna ebyange wali waliko tuli mu line na yenza ddako ebyange bitwala listi ya Mukama Katonda yenza ddako okufuna ebyange wali waliko tuli mu line na yenza ddako ebyange bitwala listi ya Mukama Katonda yenza ddako okufuna ebyange wali waliko tuli mu line na yenza ddako.
Obulamu bunyiga naddala ng'otambulira mu nsi y'okutya tewali kyewegasa anti buli kaddo bamukweraliikirira togwamu ssuubi yadde abakuwala neeyo bangi bakwasa eryejjaali kasita ofuba okumwesiga tali kusuula Katonda omusabe mirembe n'ennaku yaliberawo yadde ng'olina abalaba bakuwalana bakwase Mukama ojja kumalako njagala okume Katonda omusabe mirembe n'ennaku yaliberawo yadde ng'olina abalaba bakuwalana bakwase Mukama ojja kumalako nabo bulaba bewesimisa manya bayitako gy'oli abo bulaba bali mu mirembe babeerako nga ggwe kati fuba kimu kumwesiga ebikuluma n'abiwumuza akola nebyo tosuubira Mukama mwekwate Katonda omusabe mirembe n'ennaku yaliberawo yadde ng'olina abalaba bakuwalana bakwase Mukama ojja kumalako njagala okume Katonda omusabe mirembe n'ennaku yaliberawo yadde ng'olina abalaba bakuwalana bakwase Mukama ojja kumalako nze wansumulula ye nali nasibirwa wanzijjukira Mukama abanwanyisa wabanswaliza wansitula kabaka nakuyimbiranga nakuyimusanga njagala okume Katonda omusabe ennaku yaliberawo abalaba bakuwalana bakwase Mukama ojja kumalako Katonda omusabe mirembe n'ennaku yaliberawo yadde ng'olina abalaba bakuwalana bakwase Mukama ojja kumalako
follow. Nyarireta. Wate yonna ebinna bamuterera hasta Yesu wali kulujja lwange kulujja Puliranga mfavoringa Mukama onkuze ekijo kuba ne bwe kusobya osigala ompa Puliranga mfavoringa Mukama ontajaseza banja bakusaba naye nange nompa olwekyo Mukama nzizeno nkwetondere wesikwebaziza olwekyo zizenga kunoonya nkulage tibuli kyenfuna nsiima Mukama onkoze ekyejo nasaba kalimu nkoleko gwe wampa kuyingiza kiralu
nakwerabira naye gwe tewanyiga wanyongera bongezi ku mulimu wagatakamaka wemale
ekyo Mukama nsizeno wetonere wesikwebaziza n'olwekyo onzisinga nkunoonya nkulage nti buli kyenfuna nsiima Seba zambera mulalu Sebo webale Engwatene wezijachenda Abapene webachawenda Abakumi wafunira kenda Sebo webale Simpi wangabira chiralu Wano wangabira chiralu Seba zambera mulalu Sebo webale Chenda abalabe newe bajja lwenda abakumi wanfunira kenda sebo webale
waponya mu budde bw'enkalamata wasumulula ensulo nezikulukuta eyali atugubadde mwenyereketa omuyaye wobe andayira sirikuta sirikuta
webale omanye okulyalyawo n'okusanyawo ebizibu byange nkwesiga mulimbirivi nga nti ndibanga nga balabe bange tata kwebaza manyi sisanira nsukako nandaba obulungi bw'omukwano gwo n'amaanyi g'ekitiibwa ky'osebo geewuunyisa bwenkaaba amazigo sangula bwendwala nze ngawonya abalabe oba nkubira n'amabanja g'osasulira nga nkudde yegwanyimusa egy'emitego n'ogitegula ababalogo n'obalalula nze nno menye kindeke kinina
nkutanze ngabanyogerera nnyo naye nze mulinga mmanyi nti gyenkoma okunonya gyenkoma okuwangula kuba nze wansuubiza nti tolindekerera tolinjabulira kyenva nkuyimbira Lwaki mukama tuleseewo mu bangi waliwo ensonga
mutange kagaba maziga wewuyo nosangula enaku yekwewuyo nojetika tata ndisanga wakwekana tusa ndisanga walinga kwe onesewo waline chama wamanyi ensonga yange
lwaki mukama tulesewo mu bangi waliwo ensonga atulwaniridde ne tuwangula balabe waliwo ensonga
wandibanga wopangisa naye kyawo lifuna ennyumba eyo
waliwo ensonga
wandiba leero tabuza bigere emmotoka ejja
haleluya
siza siza haleluya guma 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 olimunya yali storye
antegekedde emmeeza mu maaso g'abalabe bange siyitya ekintu kyonna waliwo ensonga lwaki yalondayo nze n'aleka abalala amanyi obunafu bwange teyabufaako ono n'asalawo akozesenga bwendi. So you can never put me down, just let them know D'Angelo, I'm the apple of his eye. So you can never put me down, just let them know D'Angelo, I'm the apple of his eye. Anjagala, amatira, era nange mwagala nnyo. Waliwo ensonga
katinywera sangula sangula maziga tata
waliwo ensonga
ebikunyiga mukama biraba era nabyo birigenda tozirikano lowooza njoba kuleseno olimunye yali solye yakumanyi mukwano kuma waliwo ensonga mama waliwo ensonga waliwo ensonga mama waliwo ensonga
teriyo mulala ono bonna basinga tewaliyo ebyaffe nono tayali kiri mutu kimanyi bwannyini kyonange ono gwenjagala mu mutima nina ensonga zange omanyi okwagala kyabbeeyi ono kwenfiira ne bwe ziba zivuga ziruka munyweza abalala mundeke etaala yange kyenkutte okukonda ono kwenkuteera nange ono kwenfiirira nange teriyo mulala nze gwennasiima wuuno tewaliyo mulala nze kati mmaze okulonda teriyo mulala ono bonna basinga tewaliyo ebyaffe noono tayali era nakulaba okwasooka nalowooza wali onnimba nengezaako nkutookingenga naye era nkumiitinga obubaluwa bwe wawandiikanga nabusomanga ne mbwokya nakuswazanga n'osirika ne neebuuza nti onannabatya ondaze nti ky'oyagala okimanyi bwe tolinga bali ate era nakulabirawo lwakwekaza nga ye gwasaana teriyo mulala nze gwennasiima wuuno tewaliyo mulala nze kati mmaze okulonda teriyo embeera ngefuuse lwansi mu bulungi ne mu bubi nga tewali ssuubi nze ndibeera naawe nze ndibeera naawe
mukama jagala nyansitule jagala ngattemu abomba ayita abaana be nange mulabeko ng'akola nange mbeeko ku bujulizi jagala nnyo mukama n'omutima gwange buli lwe mulaba ku musalaba naavumibwa nakubwa laba bwafuuka omusiru ku lwange omu abange anjagala mukama nange nsaanye mwagale beera mu binnyonnyo bwesibawe naye ebikemo bingi buli lwe ndaba abawala bano abambala mini bansanyusa oluusi nengwa mu bikemo emitego ngikole nkya kuba mukama mwagala n'abawala mbagala kati eggulu ng'olisiibula likubira ebbaayi elaba genze magombe omwoyo gw'obeera obutunze katonda omugattiko otya babujejo naawe tosobola kwagala nnyo mukama nga n'ekibi okyagala jagala nnyo mukama jagala nyansitule jagala ngattemu abomba ayita abaana be nanga nnwanire ku ntalo ziri ewange ezimmenya jagala nnyo mukama n'omutima gwange buli lwe ndowooza kugeyeena ne mpulira nga ntya olaba eryanda wano linkubye enduulu ate ogwo omuliro ogutazikira ze ngutya mwana wange jagala nnyo mukama namponya okwokebwa naye ataakenge kano bwe bulamu ogirasi kankubya amameme ate mukama mutayagala lujuju yenze nakola ntya kuba mukama mwagala nakenge nkagala kati eggulu ng'olisiibula likubira ebbaayi elaba genze magombe omwoyo gw'obeera obutunze katonda omugattiko otya bamujejo naawe tosobola kwagala nnyo mukama nga n'ekibi okyagala nkola n'amaanyi sifuna boosi atwala ennyingi nange mubaliza wano mukkuba enjawulo ate mukama mutayagala babbi yenze nakola ntya kuba mukama nkwagala n'enjawulo empomera kati eggulu ng'olisiibula likubira ebbaayi elaba genze magombe omwoyo gw'obeera obutunze katonda omugattiko otya bamujejo naawe tosobola kwagala nnyo mukama nga n'ekibi okyagala naye mbuuza mubaawo mutyeyo ze bwe mba stressed gendako mu disco olwo bw'okuba endongo n'osala endongo n'ofuna eddembe embuuza ne mu kkanisa waliyo endongo ate ne yesu abeerawo naye kunze akenge kano obulamu bwe nkavako bwe nti zikutuke n'enfa awa wajjula omwenge jjuzaawo katonda olifuna eddembe kulisi tosobola kwagala nnyo mukama nga n'ekibi okyagala kanfube sabira pasta nawe tosobola kwagala nnyo mukama nga n'ekibi okyagala
NTV, turning on your world.
running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.